Hello, everyone, and welcome to the very first interview on the Long Shot Podcast. I'm here with Andre Iguodala, 17th season in NBA All-Star, 2012 Olympic gold medalist, three-time NBA champion, 2015 Finals MVP. That's just on the court. Off the court, we got Vice President of the Players Association, creator of the Players Technology Summit, New York Times best-selling author, and venture partner in the Catalyst Fund. Here with us for our first interview, but maybe above all that, a good friend of mine, of course, a teammate. Andre, welcome to the Long Shot Pod. Thank you for joining us.
Out of all the interviews I've done, you've surpassed them all in terms of the introduction you just gave me. It's beautiful, it's eloquent. You forgot world championships champion though, so next time we do this for season 2, you got to add that.
Well, I was actually going to ask, where does being the first guest on the Long Shot Pod fall into those accolades? It's got to be somewhere near the top.
It falls in the top, but considering the circumstances that only you and I and Davis knows about, fell down a little bit.
All right. Well, we really appreciate we really appreciate you being here. I want to start off with a story. Obviously, I grew up actually a fan of yours, as weird as that is. But my first actual interaction with you was, we just traded for you at the deadline last year. You took the first whatever months of the season basically off, but you were working.
Like 2.5, 2.
We'll get to that, but you fly into Sacramento. We play in Sacramento. You have the longest physical in the history of the NBA, I believe. And then the next day we play Portland. And I think the agreement at that point was that you were going to wait a couple weeks to play, right?
Correct. And
that did not happen.
In typical Spo fashion, he saw my weight and body fat and decided that I was ready to play in a day or two.
Yeah, so we're gearing up to play Portland. The Miami Heat, one of the things that we do before games is we sit around in the locker room, and sometimes we'll talk about intentions of what we're going to bring to a game. And oftentimes the intentions very much fit with Heat culture, toughness. I'm going to bring to the game. I'm going to be aggressive. I'm going to do this on defense, this on offense. It's very technical. It's very, very deliberate and intentional thoughts that you're going to bring. And we all go around and we say what we're going to bring, and we get to Andre. And Andre has a total change of pace and says, man, I'm just going to go out there and enjoy it. I'm excited to be here. I might not always be in the right spots. I don't really know what we're running because I haven't even had a practice with you guys yet, but I'm gonna enjoy it, and I encourage all you guys to have fun with it as well. And for me as a younger player, I'm so entrenched with, like, we got to win. I got to do this. I got to do my job. And it was just like so refreshing to hear that perspective coming from you. So I guess to really just open this up, how have you like cultivated that mindset now 17 years in the NBA? How have you gotten to that point?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just been where I've seen so many different things, like I came in the league and people ask me, like, what was my favorite year where I had the most joy? And it was like, my rookie year, I had no idea. Like, I was just laughing every day, like playing around. And then like Allen Iverson just took all the pressure off me. Like there was no expectations. I mean, I started every game. And playing defense was like second nature to me. So like that was easy. And then I was playing against players that I followed growing up. Like I had posters on my wall of Kevin Garnett, Ray Allen. Rip Hamilton was one of my favorite players because of UConn. I mean, Rasheed Wallace, I was a huge fan from Carolina. I mean, Allen Iverson's my teammate. Obviously, Kobe Bryant is like, it's like God to me. Like it was just like I get to play against these dudes. So I'm just running around having fun every day. And like no one really talked about me. I didn't have to worry about expectations or pressure. So I just had fun. Like it was just fun. But then as I got older, you learn the business of the game. You get your second contract and then it's a different tone. It's like, now you're in the machine, now you're part of the machine. It's just like, are you earning your pay every day? And then it's like, that's kind of like the worst place to be in. Like, other people measure your success. Like they tell you whether you deserve what you're paid. And like having to go through that where I went through it, it helped me grow up like really fast. Like I grew up really fast. And then I like every day I walked outside with like a shield up, like, okay, I have to do this when I walk down the street because it may affect someone's perception of me, which is like the worst thought process to have in terms of like how you carry yourself. Like, you know, like you're on the court and you're handling business. And like the positive I take out of it is that I focused every inch of my life into the game of basketball. Like I was locked in, like I trained like no other. Like I was in the gym all day. I was in the gym all the time. Like everything I did was like I was lifting weights 4 times a week. You know, I had a team tell me like, yo, you're in the weight room too much. You know, I think you're lifting too much. And it was just like, listen, man, nobody's gonna ever tell me that I didn't deserve my pay. And going through so many different things or all those things, and then getting into a situation like the Golden State Warriors, you know, playing with, you know, 2 of the best shooters of all time. And then like the great, like some of the best people of all time, not just basketball players, but good human beings. And in that environment, it was just like, yo, this is how it's supposed to be. Like you should come to work every day and enjoy working. But you can work hard too. Like people like would think like, oh man, y'all just over talented, just beating everybody. They're like, no, we had a perfect environment and like everybody worked on their game. Like, I'm like, yo, you work hard just like Steph and Clay work hard. And it's like, that's why I like Tyler so much. Like Tyler really loves to play basketball and like he really works on his game. I'm like, yo, them dudes is working just like that. Like they don't just get good just like naturally. Like you really have to hone your craft. So we built something special, but we really enjoy each other's company. We really have fun every time we stepped on the court. And we got caught up in the machine of being great too. And, you know, it was kind of like a circus show. You know, we're winning so much and like we were the NBA's cash cow. And, you know, we ended up on these circus shows and these circus trips where we're traveling across country, one game, go to the East Coast for one game, fly back home for a game, then fly here for another team's one game. And it's like TV schedule, like all that madness, and took the joy out of it a little bit. So like the greatest approach is just enjoy it. And for me, it's bringing balance. So if I'm in a situation where things are like, I feel like it's too tight, I'm like, yo, I sense it, like bring the balance. All right, loosen it up. But at the same time, I've been in situations where it's been too loose. And I'm like, no. We got to tighten this thing back up. So it's not like I'm always like loosey-goosey having fun. It's just, I'm just playing it by ear and seeing the room and filling it out and be like, okay, how can I bring the balance? And then how can I be of value to the situation?
For sure. You know, I think just in watching those Golden State teams, at that point, I was just a fan. You know, in college, like you guys truly played with that joy that you're talking about. And I think that when you came and joined us, I think that you unlocked that in us in a lot of ways. And it's not to say that it was just you, but it was you were this constant reminder of how important that was. And, you know, people talk about our success in the bubble. And I think so much of that was surrounded by that mentality of enjoying competing with one another. And the other side of that too, you talk about balance. One of my favorite parts about being your teammate, particularly in the bubble, was you would drag me out of my room to go play golf. Mm-hmm. And it was like, I didn't want to do it. I was legitimately scared. You would make fun of me all the time. I was legitimately scared to leave my room because, you know, I didn't want to be viewed as not taking this seriously, like that I had a responsibility to be on task. And you were just this constant reminder of, look, man, like you got to get out. You got to experience something other than basketball, especially in that bubble setting, right, which we certainly learned. It's just you're surrounded by basketball everywhere all the time.
Well, the funny thing about that is that, as you know, we talked about basketball a lot on the golf course. Right. So I think sometimes people misconstrue like what you're doing away from the court. Like they think like if you're not thinking about the game, if you're not on the court, you're not getting better at your job. And it's just like, no, you can just think about your job because it's who we are innately. Like our feelings, our vibes, our emotions are tied around the game. So if we play bad, it's going to be tied up in it. Now you can get out of that the stressful mindset that you have by doing something else and then to kind of bring back, some positive things about the job. And that's all I'm trying to do. So like, it'd be me, you, Solo, and KO. And we'd be like joking about like, why'd you do this on the court? Like, that was really stupid of you to do this. Like, not just you, but like you KO, or y'all can get on me like, yo, like,
I mean, mostly me, but yeah.
You would get on you because you were young. But like, I remember one time, I couldn't move, like my back locked up on me, and Jaylen Brown, I wanted to kill him, but he gave me this small push, and I couldn't move. I was locked up, and I hit the ground like weird. And Solo made fun of me while we were playing golf, but we just out there in comfortable setting, we just laughing about it. We can laugh about it, but I think sometimes people, they tell me like, yo, you're on the golf course so much, like you still like basketball. I'm like, I think about basketball a lot on the golf course. It just frees my mind to where I can just breathe through it. And like, I talk about it in my book and I talk about a lot even before that, where the 2015 championship team, our first championship team, we were down 2-1 to Memphis, to the Grizzlies. Like, we were like, oh, this might be it. Like, because Memphis was like grindhouse, like Marcus Gasol, defensive player of the year, Zebo, that whole squad, Mike Conley, Tony Allen, like they were threats. And we were like, yo, we're down 2-1 going to game 4 on the road. Like, it's do or die. And we went to the golf course the day after we lost. Like, most people would have been like, y'all crazy. And we went to the golf course and just had the most relaxing conversations about just life and in the game. And what we do, we won 3 straight games.
Yeah.
And then it kind of like, not to say that was a make or break moment, but like that really helped us like think about something in a different way. Like, you can solve a problem. It doesn't always have to be stressful in thinking about problems. Like, you just solve it in a different way. And that's just how we did it.
Andre, I assume that's harder now, right? Significantly than when you first came into the league. You've talked about dealing with the media when you were a rookie. AI helped you, like, don't read the newspaper, right? Stay away from the newspaper. Mm-hmm. Now you can't just stay away from the newspaper, right? Like, social media is everywhere. I assume it's harder now to get away. You can go to the golf course and you can turn your phone off, right? But then as soon as you turn your phone back on, you're likely coming across something when you're down 2-1 in a series to Memphis where it's like, shit, now I'm all of a sudden reminded about, last night and I'm bummed again. How have you found, as social media has become more prevalent and you're now serving kind of like a mentor role, right? How have you found to talk to these young guys, Duncan being one, in dealing with that and dealing with kind of the social media that's constantly prevalent?
I think what I learned, and I always tell guys, is you got to kind of curate your phone. Like you can set your phone up to only allow yourself to see things however you want to see them. Like, some guys are motivated by people who doubt them, who don't think they're as worthy. Like, some people like feed off that. So, I mean, for them to constantly see it, they might feed into it. I think it becomes emotionally draining. Like, it's just unnecessary. I think you can use it as fuel, but over time, it's just, they're always going to win because they're never going to be you and they never can do what you do. So they're undefeated because they can never stop. Like, they don't lose. Like, what's the loss for them? Like, so what? They say what they said and nobody's gonna remember them anyway. So it just becomes a drain. So for me, I'm always saying like, yo, set your phone up to only see what you want to see. So like, if you go to my Twitter, I've learned to use that mute button a lot. Like, some people may annoy me and I'm like, if I don't follow them, they might be in their feelings. So I just mute them. Or some folks I just won't follow. And then, I'll just see certain things that I want to see. So obviously basketball is, one of the things that I, do for a living. Like, it's my main job in terms of salary. So there are a few things that I need to see to know what's going on in the world, the different things that are happening there. So there's a few people who are unbiased and, you won't see any gossip type things going on. But everything else is a lot of tech stuff, like, so I constantly see the news on what's going on in the tech world. And then Instagram's kind of the same way. Like, I really don't even use Instagram. Like, I don't post much on Instagram. It's just more or less just keeping up to date with the culture, my people, whatever they're doing, whatever they got going on. So I really don't even see that stuff. Maybe the Explore page, or like most of the stuff I get is from friends being funny. Like, look, check this out. So other than that, like, I don't see it. So I always tell guys, like, you can curate your phone not to see the nonsense.
You bring up a super interesting point that I've come back to a lot in my career, in that, especially now with everybody having a voice, you can always tap into that, shout out to the haters or the people, doubting me, and you can always tap into that. But I think that you're right in that can tend to be exhausting, and that what I've actually learned in my career is to like lean into that when maybe you need to, but it's actually more important to empower and enable the people that are actually in your corner and are believing in you and think that you're capable. I think that there's this obsession to the point where there's like companies now that are like, prove people wrong. Like there's this obsession around that where it's like, where are you really tapping your energy into then? It's like it's becoming obsessed with the negative. And once again, I think even our team, like we talk about having this massive chip, and we talked about it in the bubble. And I think that there's times when like, I was undrafted. This dude had his name called on draft night. Like I'm gonna use that as fuel. Like some GM out there fucked up. Right. Like, and you can tap into that. And it's not just me, but like even somebody like Bam talks about the guys that were taken in front of him, the lottery picks. And I think it's a useful tool to have, but I love what you're saying. And I think it ties into your like whole perspective on everything, the importance of like knowing when and how to use that and not just having it be like the constant. Like
that's perfectly put. And that chip, I think is just your competitive nature, which we all have. So I don't like the chip is cool. Like I got drafted 9th. So those 8 guys ahead of me. I'm like, oh, I can't wait till I see y'all. Like that's just competing though. Like this is your competitive nature. And then it's the guys behind you is like, they coming after you. So you just competing. But like when you're looking at like people who don't do what you do and you're constantly trying to prove them wrong, it's like, they can't lose. Like you're not going to go up against them. Like you go up against the guys that were drafted before them, like you're going to see them. Like I'm going to see you at some point and we're going to square this thing away. Like you can do that, but it's people, it's like we have a lot of guys who in our league who like, they're constantly saying like, yeah, everybody doubted me. I was like, at some point it's just like, they don't exist anymore. Like for me, they don't exist. Like I have my goals and I set high standards for myself. If I'm proving anybody wrong, it's myself. By saying, look, man, you can do this. You got to get it. If you don't get it, you let yourself down. Like that's where my focus is. Like anything or anybody else's opinion, they really don't exist. And that's why, like, I have an interesting relationship with the media because I have this, like, I don't really care, like attitude toward it. It's not that I don't care. It's just like, I really don't care about your opinion. And most of the time I don't care about your question unless it's a very educated question and you really want me to speak to, whatever we're talking about, like a great, it's like you have a few interviewers who are really good. I'm like, okay, they're going to ask some very intellectual questions. We're going to talk about the game on a deeper level. But when they get to asking these dumb questions about this guy and that guy, and it becomes like this NBA gossip, I'm like, what are we doing here? Like, go away.
Not that I'm traditional media, but I hope you care about my questions. I just want to.
No, but we're having like intellectual conversation. That's why I just said it. Like,
right?
There's some really good. The majority of them are really good, and the media gets a bad rep because there's those few who like to pull. Like they don't even get the direct information. Like they pull quotes. Like I've been caught up in that so many times where someone pulled a quote, one sentence from a paragraph of what I spoke and then put that out. And it's like, did you not hear what I said before and after it? Like it all tied together, but it's just like, we call them culture vultures. Like they come in and just try to see and take value out of what we did and prop themselves on it. So that's just the way the game goes sometimes.
You've been caught up in some fake quotes as well.
Some fake quotes.
In regards to myself.
Exactly.
I had to answer to that all last year, and it's just like, dude, like do your research. Like you are paid as a journalist. Like it should not be hard to figure out that is a fake tweet. And for those who maybe don't understand this, last year Andre was fake quoted as saying that I was like a ball boy. He thought I was a ball boy when he first got to Miami, and then I like.
Can I read it? I wrote it down. I wrote it down because I was hoping that this would come up. So I did. It's when I first got to Miami, I thought he was a ball boy or some shit. I was like, yo, this kid's shooting better than the players on the squad. Then I saw him take off his warm-ups and drain 6 threes in the game. He's easily the best shooter I've ever played with, which
And you had to answer to that, which is like, you didn't even say it. Like, and you're taking time out of your day to answer to that in the media. It's just, it's like the media in a nutshell, in my opinion.
I give him credit though. Like, that is something that the sarcastic me would say. So
Okay.
I wasn't too upset, but if you do your research as a journalist, which is part of your job to do research and know who you're talking to and what type of person they are. Like, if you do your research, then you would know that if I even uttered those words, I was joking.
Yeah, that's elite company. And once again, it's just something that you wouldn't say. I want to go to the bubble real quick and just highlight one experience that I had with you as well, in something that was somewhat well documented. I actually think loosely documented, was the players only meeting that existed in the bubble. The Bucks had just decided to not play against the Magic in their playoff game in protest of what happened in Kenosha. And as a result, the league was kind of put on pause. And we all come together in a ballroom at Disney, all the players and originally all the coaches.
Right.
And after about basically 45 minutes to an hour of an, I don't want to say unproductive, but like people were going back and forth and there wasn't any sort of solution in sight. You actually, I shouldn't say we, I was just kind of like a fly on the wall, just kind of taking this all in. You decided, along with Chris Paul, to basically kick out all the coaches, and it became a players only meeting, and we would talk about everything moving forward, and we would talk about how we were going to handle ourselves as a league moving forward. And all of a sudden, you and Chris are like thrust into this situation where you have to account for all these different egos, all these different, opinions and different, people pulling you different ways. And first off, I just want to say I feel that you were not, or Chris for that matter, were not given nearly the credit that you deserve for handling the room the way that you did. But I just want to ask you, like, how do you go about doing something like that? How do you coordinate? How do you lead? Obviously, leadership is something I think at this point in your career that comes somewhat natural to you, but I think that is just at an entirely different level.
Well, first of all, I appreciate that. And honestly, like, you kind of just, like I was talking about, my years in Philly, like I had to grow up really fast, especially when Allen Iverson left. Like, it was just like, here, the ball's yours. And, this is a city who they gonna let you know if you ain't doing it right. So what you gonna do? So I had to grow up really fast, and I had to take hits and lumps. I had some successes. The interesting thing about that is that there's a lot of love there. It's just outweighed by the few who were just overbearingly, like, just, get a little evil, and it's just the way of the world sometimes. So, but with the team, I was a leader. I was like young, and I was supposed to be the guy of the team. So I had to be the leader. And, we talk about this with Bam. It's like, he's so young. He's got so far to go, and he's ahead of his time in terms of being a leader, but he still got some ways to go, just because he's just so young. He just hasn't seen things. So he's doing a much better job than I did. Like, I made some mistakes. I remember a few team situations where I didn't handle well, because I'm like, I'm trying to get my contract. I got to get my points, or if we lose, they're going to blame me. Like, I just had to figure a few things out. But all that is to say that it helped me with my, my maturation, or me becoming a better leader, and me surrounding myself with people who hold me accountable. I had really good vets who held me accountable, the Kevin Ollie's, Aaron McKee's, Corliss Williamson's. Like, I had Tony Petit had some really good veterans, so Calvin Booth, who's the GM in Denver now. Like, I had really good vets. Reggie Evans was an amazing vet for me. Like, he just always kept it real with me. Andre Miller. And like, it helped me like take a step back and say, get rid of the ego, and how could I have done the situation better? So fast forward now, getting involved with the union, originally because I wanted to learn the business. I wanted to learn how things work from the top down. Why do we have these type of TV deals, or why is it with TNT, or why is it with ESPN? Going forward, will there ever be live games on Netflix? Will there be live games on Prime? Would it be through the NBA, subscription service that we have with the League Pass? Like, all these things are a part of me wanting to become a part of the union. Why do we have drug testing and it's just us in NFL? Why doesn't, NHL or MLB, they have drug testing, but essentially not drug testing. And why is it our league? Why do we have to pay taxes as personal entities through the NBA? Why can't we do it through LLCs, which is a huge tax breaks, because so many other people do it. Like, why can't we do it? So all these things are flying through my mind. Give a lot of credit to my business partner, my agent, for helping me grow through this process. And when you take this duty, you understand you're not getting paid for it. You're going to get blamed for a lot. As you can see, anytime something comes up, I'm the one that gets asked, what's the players union doing? Why do we have to do this? Like, I get that question every day, especially like now. Like, it's a daily occurrence. Why are we testing at night? Why we got to do this? Why we do that? Why can't we leave our room? And it's like, I'm the one that's supposed to have all the answers. So understanding all those things and understanding my role is to support Chris Paul at any given time. And all those meetings we have every year, and people don't see the hours upon hours of calls that we have dealing with large matters in terms of collective bargaining agreements. Been through a strike, been through a lockout for like a month and a half, and then to small things like the ball. Like, we got a new ball coming in next year, and I'm supposed to approve the ball. Like, it's just constant, And then my wife would tell you, like, she's on my ass constantly, like, isn't your plate full enough? I hear that a lot. So all those things, like, you just kind of, it's like practicing, you know what I mean? And then you just get comfortable in that role, and sitting back watching CP go through it is like, whoa, like, we went through some battles. Like, I even was joking with Blake Griffin when we played against them recently, and that never would have happened when I was with the Warriors and they were with the Clippers. Like, we really hated them. Like, that was a real rivalry. Like, they hated us and we hated them. But just that building that respect and working with CP is like, we both built that respect for one another. Like, yo, this is a tall order, and we got to have our shit together, and we got to be ready for whatever, because we got to hold it down for 450 players and 450 different egos, as you saw. So you just get comfortable in a role, and you just try to be a crutch for the next guy, especially with our executive committee, and all the guys are locked in. And like, that's a beautiful thing, because it's not planned, but you're just ready for whatever. It's just similar to us going to the bubble. Like, we were locked in when we were on our way to the bubble. Like, look, we're going to embrace this madness we're about to step into, and we're going to try to make the best of it. And we did. Yeah,
I certainly do not envy the situation that you're in, just having to monitor that room. I mean, I was just overwhelmed, literally, like, being in it. Like, we were all just had these chairs set up, socially distanced, or at least trying to be. And it was like this giant circle, and you and Chris just at the center of it, trying to like install some order, which, when you get all those opinions and egos flying around is just really the ultimate task, in my opinion. I'm just impressed that you were able to do it.
No, for sure. And for me, it's like, I don't even, like you say, like, maybe I didn't get enough credit. Like, I'm not looking for any. Like, that's how I approach a lot of things, and I think you get the best results out of it. It's just like, you see those, those painters or those artists whose works get sold for millions. Like, they don't do it for the money. Like, they just do it because they love it. You know what I mean? And for me, it's just like, it's the person that's most silent that's the most deadly, and I try to take that approach. Like, it's just like my game too. Like, now as I'm older, like, my game is like, like Duncan, I'm passing you the ball, and I may not get an assist because you might take a dribble or two, but I don't care. I'm just gonna put you in a position to where you can get your shit off, and I'm cool with that. Like, I don't really care. And then, as like people don't see that. People that don't know basketball, they don't see it. And like Draymond said it like last week. Draymond will voice his opinion. He was like, you don't know shit about basketball. so like, you don't know my value. So I don't care. He said it perfectly. But for me, it's like, I don't mind if I don't get credit. Like, I know my value, and I know some of the things that I'm doing that's putting out the right vibrations, putting out the right, I'm just trying to build that aura. But I don't have to get any credit. I'm cool with that.
It's crazy to me. If there's anything that I've learned, like, in my first 3 years or 2.5, whatever you want to call it, is how difficult it is to win in the NBA, and how much having somebody like you on a roster like truly deeply matters, and how much that moves the needle to the people in the locker room. Like you said, people who, pundits or, people who are looking at box scores, all that type of stuff, don't even begin to understand it in the slightest. But I think the people like you mentioned, the people that really are in it and get it, know how far that stuff goes.
Yeah, and it's deeper than basketball too. Like I learned that when I think it was Aaron McKee. Like it's funny, like you remember stuff that I say because I'm like your vet, but I remember like I hold on to every word my vet said. So Aaron McKee was like, one day he was like, listen, man, when we are retired and we're old, who are we reaching out to? Like, cause everybody we take care of, like you can't take care of for the rest of your life. Like you're not taking 5 of your friends, 10 of your friends on vacation, when you're 45, 50 years old, like, oh, that's done. You do that while you're playing. But like, who you going on vacation with? Like, who you going on date night with? Like, right before I was traded, I went on date night with Zaza and his wife and Sean Livingston and his wife. And it's like, this is kind of like, these are real bonds. Like you, my brother, like I be saying it to you all the time. And I'll be thinking like, I hope he knows I'm dead ass serious. Like we really family. Like in 15 years, I'm going to call you and I'm going to come see you. Like, I'm not just saying it's because I want you to win the game tonight. Like I'm dead ass serious. I don't really care about the game. Like we did what we're supposed to do to get ready for the game. But what I'm saying to you is that this is a real brotherhood. These are real connections. So like when Aaron McKee told me that, it let me know like these relationships are real. So I take them all like very carefully. Like each teammate I encounter is like, yo, I really want the best for you, not for right now in the next 5, 10 years, but for like 20 years down the line where we can just link up because that's just how it's going to be.
Yeah. Hopefully in 15 years, I can hold my own on the golf course because right now all you do is bust my ass. So I want to ask you, you referenced earlier about your interest and just your general curiosity with business. And, last year I thought it was so funny to hear you talk about how you were basically working a full-time job with the Comcast fund last year and everything that you're doing now with the Catalyst Fund. And I'm just curious, obviously, you came up really in that sphere in Silicon Valley. And particularly, like, you've been an advocate for underrepresented demographics in that tech space. And I'm curious as to how you, I don't want to just say get taken seriously, but like prove to these people that you're not just there in name to double up your checks to do anything, but like if there's anything I've learned from talking to you, it's that you actually like love this stuff. Like you get just as excited about this type of stuff as you do when we start talking basketball. So like, how is it that you convince these people that you actually have this deep rooted passion?
Well, I think you show them more than anything, and then your track record becomes, who you are. I think Warren Buffett said, you can it takes a lifetime to build your reputation, but it takes, 2 minutes to ruin it. So, but your track record speaks for itself. And then, Mark Jackson his favorite line was, look at his body of work. And he talked about a player was like, look at this guy's body of work. Like, what are we talking about? Like his body of work speaks for itself. So for me, like, I'll try to let that do the talking. And, I remember my first day or two working with Comcast and they were asking some questions and, it's funny because Elena Beard, who was a WNBA player, went to Duke, similar type games, very fierce on the defensive end, and then just a smart basketball player. She and I have been talking recently, and she's with a venture capitalist firm now, and she was just speaking about how like that transition is like it's really hard, and it was really hard for me. Like you're hearing acronyms that you would never heard before, and like what? Like I'm Googling as I'm having a conversation with somebody because I have no idea what they're saying. But over time, like I made sure like I'm Googling stuff, I'm writing stuff down. As soon as I get home, I'm making sure I know. The next time I hear this word, I know exactly what it means. And then obviously I got my books that I'm reading constantly. And then I talked about curating your phone. Like everyone's on their phone. So like I curate my phone. So I remember like I was on a plane and KO saw me for a couple of weeks and he was like, bro, like, is that what you were reading? Like I was telling him what I'm reading. He was like, that's what you read on the plane. I'm like, yeah. He's like, bro, I thought you were on your phone the entire flight. I'm like, no, bro. I'm like, I was working. He was like, makes sense. But all the information that I'm bringing in by curating my phone, now I'm able to have these conversations with people. Now I'm able to do these deals. Now I'm serving on the board, bringing real value to it. And I think for me, like, as you know, when I'm on the court, I'm trying to find work. I'm trying to crush space. You know, that's like a Navy SEALs term, find work, crush space. And like, I try to do that in my everyday life, anything that I do, whether I'm playing golf, all my passions, golf, basketball, and you know, my tech work, where it's just like, I'm already behind the 8 ball. I got to catch up, you know. So that's just my focus on everything. And then the track record speaks for itself. And now I'm talking to people, and they're always, I get this one question, is like, are other athletes as vested as you are? Like, you know, if you want to bring other athletes in, that's cool, but are they putting in the time that you're putting in? Because now I'm dealing with these people every day. Like my partner in crime at the Catalyst Fund, she's always like, are other athletes this interested, or are they putting in this much work? Because, you know, it seems like you're one of the few. I'm like, yeah, but, you know, once we show them the ropes, you know, they'll figure it out. Like, we know how to work hard. It's just transferring the energy into a different space, and we can pick up stuff on the fly. You know, we're proactive humans. Like, we know how to be there before we're supposed to be, and it's just transferring the energy into a different space.
It sounds like your wife might be right, that your plate is pretty full. You've talked about how you're in a transition phase now in your life, right? So like, obviously you're a basketball player first, but this stuff is ramping up, it seems. Can you talk just a little bit about, you know, you're on a plane, right? A lot of the time you're on the road, you're in a hotel room now. So you have time to be doing these other things, but being a professional basketball player, I imagine, is pretty demanding. I get to see a little bit through Duncan's life, just what's required. How do you find that balance of time? Because you do have your wife and son that you're also giving time to.
Right.
So where do you find time for all of that?
Right. Wife and the 3 kids. So, you know, wifey's holding it down, you know, as Duncan, you know, as he gets older and he decides, you know, whether he wants to get married and have kids and do that whole thing, like, he's going to see, like, women truly run the world. Like, it's just, and you always say that too. You always say that women are the greatest species ever assembled, and
facts.
do whatever they say. I truly believe that, though. That's a true story. Like, they're going to be the leaders of the next revolution. So, wifey's tough. Like, you know, like, Duncan and I had this crazy conversation on, you know, what people should be attracted to, you know, and I'm like, yo, guys are attracted to the wrong thing. Like, you should be attracted to trying to figure out how to politically be correct. Essentially, you should be attracted to smart people, like higher IQ people is what you should be attracted to. So I say, like, yo, man, the first thing you should think about when you are talking to a partner or a female is, you know, breeding. Like, breeding is a big thing. And then somebody might be like, oh, what do you mean breeding? I'm like, don't you want your kids to be smart? Like, don't you want to be with somebody that's going to hold you accountable, lift you up, blah, 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 all those things, right? I'm drifting away from the point, but I'm getting some cool points at the same time. So you got to work your game, Duncan. But
I like where this went.
you have to politically be correct, but I'm being serious and I'm being honest. Like, those are true statements. Like, I'm not BS, right? So my wife got perfect on the ACT. So I know she can hold it down in the meanwhile. Plus, she got her own business too, you know, and it's just having trying to have a good balance. I got to say trying, because I'm not really that good at it right now. Like, I'm failing at balancing because it's like heavily skewed on the business side and basketball side. But, you know, I'm getting better on the other side. Like, it's just like you learning. Like, you have to learn how to be a father. Like, nobody can teach you how to do that. Nobody can teach you how to be a good husband. Like, you got to work on that, because we're not all married to the same person. Like, everybody's unique in their own way. But as a basketball player, you learn your time. Like, they tell you in rookie transition program, like, you're going to have a lot of off time as a professional athlete. Like, there's no more school. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to go to class. So you're going to be in practice. Max practice is an hour and a half, 2 hours. And then you're lifting for an hour and treatment's 30 minutes. You know, that's 4 or 5 hours. That's 4 hours of your day, 5 hours max. Like, you got 19 hours to do whatever. And that's where most athletes get in trouble. So it's like, what are you going to do with that time? So once you figure out your schedule, and it's only 2 types of days in as a professional athlete. It's the game day, it's practice day. And then off days are here and there. So you got 2 days. So you working and figuring out those days. And as you get older and as you are more experienced, you figure out, okay, I got this much time to do this. I got this much time to do that. I saw the funniest, was a TikTok or Instagram post somebody sent me. It was a female talking to a professional athlete, and it was like, female, hello, how are you? Athlete was like, lifting weights. She was like, okay. And then an hour went by. He was like, what's up? She was like, oh, okay, how are you? What you doing today? And then like another hour went by. Oh, I just finished practice. And like, hey, how are you? Like, what's doing later? And then like 3 hours passed by. Oh, I just finished a massage. Like, those are really, like, those are athletes.
That's real.
Like, it was crazy. I'm cracking up laughing like, wow, that's really how it is. But like, we have this crazy like schedule, and Duncan can tell you, I have these alarms that go off. Like, people are like, you have these weird alarms, and like, that's just how my day goes. Like, it's a wake up alarm, and then there's the pregame nap alarm, and then there's like another alarm where I usually take most of my business calls. So it's just like, it just be going off randomly.
Dre, I want to kind of finish up here, or begin to finish up here, I should say, with kind of a big picture question in regards to your journey, your career. It doesn't have to be your basketball career, but maybe just your life journey in general. If you had to pick a specific moment or experience or word of advice, take it in whatever direction you want, that you felt was a tipping point or a catapult or a springboard for your success, or just like a new added perspective that you felt really changed things for you. And it might have just been something you learned on your own. Doesn't need to come from somebody or whatever. Is there something in your mind that sticks out to you?
It's two things, and that's a really good question. I can see Duncan's been doing his homework. You're going to be really good at this. And then, as you know, podcasts, you got to keep popping them out. All right.
Yes, sir.
Got that next one. You got to just keep hitting them. But you're getting it. But two things that come to mind with your question is, it was in my book. Like, I had a teacher. I was in like I was 8th grade, so I was 14 years old, and I was going to this high school where most of the basketball players went, and like when we're in like grade school, middle school, like we look up to the elite high school players. So it was a couple guys that went D1, and like they were like the Kobe Bryants and Michael Jordan to me. Like, one guy was Jeff Walker, amazing talent, should have played in the league. So teacher told me, are you going to that school? I'm like, yeah. I was supposed to go to a different school, and he was like, yeah, you'll be a loser just like the rest of those guys. Like, I would never forget that. And it was just like, my whole thing was just to get as far away from home as possible, just to get out of that city, because most of the guys got stuck there. We got so much talent, but they always end up back home. Like, they end up in college for a semester and always end up back home. So like, that stuck with me from 14, just to get as far away from home as possible. And, that's why I went to Arizona. Like, I'm not going to allow myself to get back home. And another one was a interesting conversation I had with an agent. So after I never expected to go to NBA. Like, I didn't know how good I was. Like, it's weird. Like, now everyone knows they're going to the league in 8th grade. Like, like that kid's going to go to the league in 2027. Like, it's weird. Like, they know that now. But I wasn't highly touted. Like, no one heard about me until the summer before my senior year of high school. So I'm just like, okay, I'm getting recruited now. I'm going D1. I'm gonna have a scholarship. Like, I know that. Like, but I didn't know I was going to NBA. I just like, all right, I'm gonna go to Arizona. And worst case, I'm gonna be on the #1 team in the nation. I'm playing with the best guys. So I got to get better, but I'm gonna be on a good basketball team, and I'm gonna get better. And then I'm gonna graduate from college or whatever. And not even an ages conversation, but I found, maybe I'll send it to you. No one's ever seen this. It's for your podcast. I don't know if I should give you this. I should say this one for myself. I found my, I was a Scholar Athlete of the Week, and I asked you all these questions, like your favorite subject, which is interesting. My favorite subject was economics. And I was like, whoa. And group economics was on the back of my jersey in the bow. Yeah. Like, I don't remember that. Like, now I remember the class reading. I'm like, oh, wow. Like, this was my junior year of high school. And then like, favorite things to do was hanging out with my girlfriend. Like, that's my wife now. And then favorite teacher was Miss White, my math teacher. And then one question was like, what do you see yourself doing in 10 years? And my answer was coaching at the high school level. And now I'm like, 19 years later, I'm still in the league. Like, there's no way I'm coaching in high school unless it's like some charity work. Like, I coach my son's high school team, right? But like, I'm like, whoa, like, you read those things from so long ago, it just blows your mind. That's in 2000, 2001. But the conversation I had with the agent was, he was asking me questions about the team. And this is during my sophomore year. And he was asking me so many questions about how he wanted to represent me. And finally I asked him, I was like, yo, why are you texting me? Like, I don't understand what you want from me. And he was like, I want to represent you. I'm like, for what? He was like, to play in the league. I'm like, you think I can go pro? He was like, bro, what's wrong with you? I'm like, bro, every day, like I'm going to practice and I'm just hearing somebody yell at me about how I got to be better. So in my mind, I'm thinking I'm light years away. Like, I'm not that good. I'm not that good. Like, all I'm hearing is somebody telling me, be better. You got to do this better. You got to do this better. So I'm not having, like, I don't have a clue. But the guy was like, bro, you going lottery. I'm like, man, you lying. He was like, are you crazy? So that put like the confidence in my head. Like, and you're like a prime example of that. Like, we tell you all the time, like, Duncan, are you crazy? Like, you're one of the best shooters in the world. And then when you get into your swag, you like, huh. And then I see you in the game sometimes where you'll pull up a shot and you'll make it and looking like the defense like, are y'all crazy? Like, y'all really let me open. But you don't know until you know, right?
Right.
But like, that was just like, once you figure that out, like the changes, like you start seeing the world different. Like, once you figure out who you are, like, I am who I am. Like, wow, okay. Like, it's like Drake's thing is like, you know who you are. It's real when you are who you think you are. Yeah. And it's interesting I said the Drake verse, but anyway, that's a great verse, like, for us all.
It's interesting because obviously we have like the long shot theme, and on paper, maybe, you know, someone would say, oh, you know, he was the top 20 player in the country and he went on to play went on to play Arizona and did all these amazing things, number 9 overall pick. But it's like, I felt that you would be perfect for our first guest, largely in part because I've had these conversations with you, and I know that you've like cultivated that mindset, and in many ways that's like made you who you are and what you are today. So that's part of the reason why I felt that last question. I don't know. I just hope that it would resonate with you, and obviously you gave a big time answer that I think a lot of people can take a lot of things from.
For sure. People don't know I'm supposed to be a high jumper. I was supposed to be I was going to college to be a high jumper first, but I was always good at basketball. I just didn't know that it would translate to where I'm at now.
Right.
Fun fact for you, Andre, I was also a high jumper in 7th grade. And I think, if I remember correctly, I went to the city tournament, the city championship. I got 8th out of the 15 that were at the city championship. I think I jumped like 4.8 or something. 4.8. So I was a freak athlete.
My wife was a high jumper. I think she was about 5'10". She may have got 6
that makes sense.
I don't think she got 6 foot, but
that tells you everything you need to know about Davis's athletic ability.
Yeah.
All right, man. So we have a segment that we finish up with, where we will be finishing up with all our guests. Obviously, you're our first guest. It's an undrafted segment. So basically, the idea is we're going to give you 3 different topics. It doesn't need to be like quick hitter, but just kind of first thing that comes to your mind. And we want like underrated, underappreciated themes, right? So maybe not like the most common responses, but kind of like the long shot answer, if you will. So the first topic, and these are all you. We're tapping out of these, so I'm going to give you 3. The first one is underrated or underappreciated tech investments that are on the horizon. And you don't have to give away any secrets, but maybe something small that, maybe a nugget here or there.
Or give some secrets. We'll cut this out, and Duncan and I will just take it.
I got some heavy hitters on the way. I've been in my bag. Like, I'm feeling myself right now. I'm doing my Duncan Robinson, pulling up from half court, and it's going in. I got 3 big ones this week. Roblox. And Roblox is a phenomenal platform in terms of scaling, because kids come to this platform, play their games, but they're also building games as well. So it's almost like a marketplace, because your users are your developers as well, which is very rare. Like, how often do you see that? Now I'm talking tech, right? Like, now I'm using words that I wouldn't have known before I but I feel like you can feel yourself when you're actually putting in the work and you have a passion for it, right? Just like somebody talking about basketball, right? Just analyzing the game. But Roblox is a huge one. My 2 older kids use it, my 13-year-old and my 11-year-old. They talk about it all the time. They play this one game that's crazy on there. So Roblox is one. The other one is Robinhood, as you all know about Robinhood. Maybe that's not under. No, Robinhood is big because they're taking a portion of their shares and they're allocating them to their users. And you've never seen anybody who has a platform where their users have access to shares. And with Robinhood being a trading platform, you've never seen something like this. So this is going to be a big one. And then lastly, just got news today. I think I can say this.
Whoa, breaking news.
Hims is a big one. I won't say how it's happening, but Hims. Look forward to Hims. Hims, you've seen Snoop Dogg doing a lot of the marketing through the commercials during some games. You've seen Hims. It's Hims and Hers now too. So different things that older male might need and to enhance themselves in particular different ways. And then through kind of e-commerce way, deliver right to your door. Like prescription meds, different things like that for men and for women now with the different needs of a woman. That one's coming soon too. So those are soon to be IPOs. But the Roblox, not too many people know about, but it's huge. And then I don't think people knew about Hims coming up. And Robinhood people know about, but in terms of the users having access to shares out the gate, that's like the first time it's being done. So that's the underappreciated part.
I'm taking notes over here.
So, I mean, we only asked for one. You gave us three. So just some extra content coming in over here, which we're all appreciative of. All right. So the second category is, I know that you're very active in golf fantasy leagues. Mm-hmm. So what I want is the dark horse to win the Masters this year.
Ooh.
Dark horse.
Here's the thing about golf, right? I'm a brag in a minute, but the thing about golf is that it's in a very good place because so many people can win.
Yeah.
Like anybody can win because they're all really good. Tiger changed the game. Like it used to be like Tiger's odds were like crazy. Like you had to bet $1,000 to even win $100 betting with Tiger. Like it's just different now. But I will say, and I don't like dropping his name, but I don't like dropping Steph's name because that's my guy. And, people try to, use his name to prop themselves up. But I told Steph that Patrick Reed was a major winner, right? And Patrick Reed has this very interesting relationship with the fans and with the media and how they view him and how he moves sand around from time to time with his clubs and not knowing. So, but but I picked Patrick Reed to win a major and he won the Masters like 2 years later. And I came to practice like I told you he was going to win. But to give you a dark horse, I got a good dark horse. Patrick Cantlay.
That is definitely a dark horse because I don't even know if I've ever heard that name.
Yep, because Patrick Cantlay was Webb Simpson might be a dark horse too. He's back.
I've heard that name.
He's got his putter back in action. But Patrick Cantlay was the man growing up with Justin Thomas and George Spieth. So Thomas was always better than Spieth, and Cantlay was always better than both of them. He was like the childhood phenom of them. He was like the LeBron James as the kid. And then he got into a car accident, and then Spieth went on his crazy run, and then people were calling Justin Thomas George Spieth's friend, and now Justin Thomas is he's ranked fourth. He's ranked fourth now, third or fourth now. It's the DJ, Rahm, see the JT and Rory right there. But Patrick Cantlay is like 10th. Like he's got some game. I think he's the tallest out of all of them. It's weird that I know this stuff about golf.
I like it. No, I like it. He's dialed in. All right. The last topic is pretty simple. A book. Just a book that you feel needs to be read that isn't read enough.
Most people would say the cliche thing with the Bible. It is the book that people need to read the most. I'm on my third time reading now. But if I had to pick a book, The Seat of the Soul is a life changer. Like it gives you a different perspective on life in terms of like my favorite chapter was on reverence, like just having a proper respect for everything will lead you to where you should ultimately be. And I think we don't do that enough. Like if you have a passion to do something, you should have a reverence or a super respect for everyone that came before you that brought you that passion to where it is. Like we should have a special place for all the great basketball players that came before us, and we should know all about their games. We should know what made them great, what were their weaknesses, how they transformed the game, all those different things. And as of recently, I've been thinking about that because we've been having these rifts between different generations, and it's been going on since the beginning of time. And I think the media is kind of pit us against each other. So you see a lot of guys are being too critical of, you know, current players and their situations, or about the contracts, or about the money and the way it is. But it's like, you guys are the reason why we're getting paid this much. So it's like, we're benefiting from what you did. So how can you be mad at us for just trying to take advantage of it and pass it on to the next group? Because, you know, as you see in sports evaluations, they're going to continue to go up, especially in this COVID situation where content is king, and, you know, your traditional marketers and people who are doing these sponsorships, like, they have to get in front of eyeballs, and the live sports is where the eyeballs are at. Got into tech business again. I apologize.
I love it, man.
I'm doing my Duncan Robinson over here. I'm feeling myself.
Well, Andre, man, I can't thank you. We can't thank you enough. Always just a joy to honestly just hear you speak. The perspective, the knowledge that you bring to literally every single conversation that we have. And it was no different in this one. So thank you for taking the time. As we've learned, you have plenty of other things that you could be doing instead of talking to us two clowns. So thank you very much, man.
I really appreciate you. I always enjoy having like real meaningful conversations, and I've seen you do your homework. I've seen you've been listening to some podcasts, and you're finding your voice. Yeah, Williams College, what was it, a year? And just one, but it did a lot for you. But Michigan too. Like, Michigan was my dream school growing up. Y'all just going through a lot of state of affairs around my time coming into college. Right. So didn't work out, but it worked out. So no, kudos to you, Davis. You're doing a great job. Get Duncan those shoes soon, please. And,
they'll be overnighted after this.
Best of luck to you guys, man. You got something special in your hands. Great theme. So I like it.
All right. Thank you, man. As always, appreciate it.
Thanks, Andre.